Special welcome to everybody. It's Chanukah. What a beautiful, cozy, warm experience. Chanukah is all about a little bit of light, dispelling a lot of darkness. And it's about our ability to sit together and to discover a light inside of us and to ignite the light and to discover that a very dark, cold, lonely, apathetic world is transformable when you ignite the fire. And we got to just find a way to find the fire. So it's special when everyone comes together on Chanukah and we together are able to work it, because it's much easier when you have a bunch of people together, and it gives us a lot more power to be able to find the light inside of us. I got a question from a young lady who said as follows. Her question was, she was asking through a friend, and she says, my friend is asking that God is evil for all he's doing to her, and why does she have to go through all that she's going through? And no one in school seems to allow us to ask these questions, and why do you have to suffer? Meaning her situation is very difficult. Her family is not really functional, and she doesn't have a relationship. There's a lot of disconnect over there, and she has this notion that God created the world and left it, or maybe he's still here and he just doesn't care that all his kids are going through such hard times. If you look around, you see people suffering in different ways. And why would a loving God do that to his children? That's the question. Very powerful, obviously very personal and very real. A lot of these times when you get a question, it's not philosophy that we're discussing. It's life. It's real life. It's not someone asking a theoretical question, right? When people today ask a question, where was God in the Holocaust? So the question is, are you a Holocaust survivor? Because if you are, it's a very different question to if you're the grandchild of a Holocaust survivor. Like if you're a Holocaust survivor and you're asking, where was God in the Holocaust? The answer is, I am not even going to try answer that. Like, I'm staying 100 feet away from that question. I have no idea. Like, it was a bad idea, as far as I'm concerned. But what if you're not a Holocaust survivor? So then it's a more philosophical question. Sometimes we get this impression that if we get to answer the question of why they're suffering, then somehow what's going to happen? Then it's good. If you know why Hashem, God forbid, for never again, why he decided to make a Holocaust, and you got the answer, and it works, and it's great. Now you're good. Problem solved. Now I know why. They still suffered, and we still suffer from it. So much of our dysfunction and discord comes from that even today. And it won't help. We're not looking for answers. It's something else that we're looking for. And perhaps let's spend some time on Chanukah, which is a time of how light can dispel darkness. Let's spend some time delving into this question and see what is the best approach to answering up the question of where was God in all that? Is he evil? Is the suffering for a reason? But perhaps not by answering the question so much as by realizing what it is that we are after in the question. What are we looking for? What's really what's my question when I'm asking this question? So Chanukah is a Yom Tov that's interesting. It's very interesting. And Chanukah actually happens in the time of the second Beis HaMikdash, in the time of the second temple, which is why technically Chanukah is not in the Tanakh. Purim is in the Tanakh, but Purim is a lot long before Chanukah. Purim happened during the exile period between the two temples, between the two Batei Mikdash. Chanukah happens during the time of the second temple. In the middle of then, that's when the Greeks had that whole issue, and that's when Chanukah happened. So when we look for parts of the Torah, or the Tanakh even, that are going to speak about Chanukah, we're not going to find them. But nonetheless, when we read the Torah on Shabbos, we always have a haftarah. The haftarah is the part we read from the prophets. And it has to have some kind of connection to whatever's going on at the time. So the haftarah of the Shabbos of Chanukah, sometimes there's 2 Shabbosim, very often there's only one, like this year. And what's the haftarah? It's not about Chanukah, but it's connected to Chanukah. So we look at the haftarah and we learn from there what the Tanakh, the Torah, thinks about Chanukah. And by looking at which haftarah was selected as the reading of Chanukah, we get insight into how the Torah wants us to feel on Chanukah. Because after all, the Torah, what does Torah mean? Torah is hora'ah. Torah, hora'ah. It means instruction. The Torah is an instruction and a lesson how we ought to live life. So if you look at the laning, the parsha is a different parsha. This week is Miketz, but the haftarah is what we're going to delve into. So the haftarah comes from Zechariah Navi. The last 3 prophets were Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. They come from the Trei Asar, which is the book of 12, the 12 prophets, and the last 3 of those prophets are Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. So Zechariah prophesied in the time of Daryavesh, who was the king who allowed us to build the second temple in his 2nd year. And Zechariah was basically the last of the prophets, together with his friends. And there he has a prophecy about the menorah. He's prophesying how the menorah is going to look. So it's beautiful. It's about the second temple and what the menorah, which will be rebuilt, will look like. And that's why it was chosen as the haftarah of Chanukah, because Chanukah is all about the menorah. The reason why we have a menorah of 8 branches and not of 7 branches is because you're not allowed to make a menorah in the same image as the one in the temple, in the Beit HaMikdash. So that was 7, so we use 8. Of course, on the way, we get to experience something very powerful, and that is that the number 7 is the normal cycle of the way life runs. 7 days of the week, 7 years in a Shemitah, 7 Shemitahs in a Yovel, in a Jubilee, etc. But the number 8 is what you do when you're one above nature. And so 8 is the bris on the 8th day. 8 is one above the regular cycle, and Chanukah is 8, because the number 8 is how we survived the exile by being supernatural. We're one above nature. And so it's significant that the menorah of the Beis HaMikdash is 7. Our menorah is not technically a menorah. You don't light a menorah, you light a Chanukiah. That's to distinguish between the two. But as close as we get to it, and we're trying to remind ourselves of that, of the 8 days. So it's very nice. But if you look at the Haftarah, the last few psukim, the last few verses, indeed discuss the Yoshua Kohen Gadol and his menorah that he lights. But the whole beginning of the Haftarah has no connection to it. In fact, the Haftarah, the opening words of the Haftarah are Roni ושמחי bat Tzion, ki hineni ba v'shachanti betochech ne'um Hashem. Rejoice and exult, O daughter of Tzion, because I'm coming to rest among you, Hashem says. Now, in terms of a Haftarah, we could have easily shortened the Haftarah to less than half and just done the last piece instead of reading the entire piece. So we read the whole chapter before as well. And in choosing a Haftarah, every verse is indeed significant. So the Haftarah of this week is called Roni ושמחי. Why? Because at the end of the Haftarah, it speaks about the menorah of the future times, which is the Chanukah connection. But in fact, what I want to do today is delve into this verse as a theme pasuk, a theme verse for our avodah, our work during Chanukah. Because remember, how do you do Chanukah? How do you keep Chanukah? Well, simple. Every day you light candles. And for the ladies, it's just, well, if there's someone in the house who's lighting, then you watch him. Otherwise, you light yourself, yeah, but you go to light anyway. But that's it. That's the whole Chanukah. And you say Al Anisim. And what else on Chanukah? You eat latkes, get some fatty oil, fried. What? Say Hallel, right? There's not much going on in Chanukah though. You can make it go on, but you can also, just very simple things. But Chanukah, more than anything else, that is the box of Chanukah. Now, that's the halachic side of Chanukah, which is critical. That's how you celebrate Chanukah. That box, that's how you celebrate Chanukah. But in addition to that, there's the avodah of Chanukah, the work of Chanukah. And it behooves us to actually do the work. Because when you light the candle, you're supposed to sit and contemplate and watch the candle and experience the candle. So what we want to do is do the work of Chanukah. So let's understand what the work is, so that we can do the work. What's the work of Hanukkah? It's obviously to light up the darkness, but how do you do that? So the prophet Zechariah, and this is the reading of Hanukkah, tells us how to do it. What are you supposed to be doing on Hanukkah? Answer is Roni ושמחי. Now, what does that mean? So, in terms of happiness, there are different types of happiness. There's different words describing happiness. A few weeks ago, we described another one, but we're going to go into this one today. Roni ושמחי. What's the difference between Rina and Simcha? Remember, we discussed about Haran and Rina. That was this one. So, what's the difference between Rina and Simcha? Roni ושמחי בת ציון. It seems very similar. And it means rejoice and be exalted and, I don't know, different types of happiness, O daughter of Zion. Why? Because I'm coming to rest among you. So who's the daughter of Tzion? What does it mean, Tzion? Bat Tzion? Yerushalayim. But why Bat Tzion is most likely you? You, the Jewish people, are called the daughter of Tzion. What does that signify to be called the daughter of Tzion? In this verse, the prophet is describing to us what we ought to be doing and how you actually experience Hanukkah, what the avodah of Hanukkah is, the work of Hanukkah. And let's understand how it works. So, how do you do the work of Hanukkah? The work of Hanukkah is, essentially, in this idea, to be in a state of happiness. And happiness is divided into two. Happiness comes from Rina, and happiness comes from Simcha. Now, we know there is a verse in Tehillim, which became famous because of the song. And it's Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. And then Bo lefanav birnana. Can you see the two modes of happiness right there? There's Simcha and there's Rina.
Maybe Simcha is from the inside and Rina is beginning to walk on.
Okay. Yes, there's a difference between them. Something to that effect. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. Avodah comes besimcha. Bo lefanav. If you want to get to his panim, pnimiyut, inside of him, that comes about through renana. So the Zohar puts it this way. It says that Simcha betzafra verenana beramsha, which means night and day. By night is one type of rejoicing, and by day is another type. By day you have Simcha, and by night you have Rina. So the difference between how you experience happiness is whether it's day or night. Now, day or night is whether you can see things, whether there's light or darkness, and that's also figuratively. If you're in a state where everything's good and amazing and awesome, and you can see Hashem's presence, and you feel the light, because that's what day is about, then you are besimcha. So when you have experiences in your life that are happy experiences, a lot of joyful experiences, then you feel simcha. Which is why, when you make a simcha, you say, I'm making a simcha. Because hopefully, you're feeling simcha. You're feeling happiness when you're making an event that's meant to make you happy. You don't say, I'm making a renana. Right? Renana is what you say when you're not making one. That's what you do when things are dark and your life is a little bit challenging and there's the lights are off in your life. And that's a whole different thing as to what you need to do to be meranen. Now, the angels, what they do is, the angels are all the time in a state of rina. The angels are meranenim, right? Leranen, ran. They're always in a state of singing to Hashem. They're always singing to Hashem. And that singing of the angels is known as rina. So if we are to dissect the difference in the two types of happiness, simcha versus rina, we can understand how to get into each one. When things are exciting and good, so you rejoice automatically because you see that things are good. When things are not good, what do we tend to do? Now notice how when things are not good, they're never not good at all. You can never say that things are an absolute and total and utter disaster, even when they are. Because there is 1%, something, 0.1%, there's got to be something good in your life. But the way we do it is, we tend to operate and say, okay, but look at all the problems that are going on. So you'll say like this, it's true that this is good. Like, okay, I'm breathing and I'm healthy, and that's amazing, but the light in my life has been taken away. And so how do you expect me to rejoice when I have no light? And then they tell you to have gratitude. And what does gratitude mean? It's very powerful. I saw a guy the other day walk into the shul over here, and after davening, he sat down and he wrote down gratitude. He was looking at all the things that are amazing in his life. His life is so terrible. He's got like a tragic life that he's leading. And yet he writes down all the things he's grateful for. And I thought that was very powerful. And then I was wondering if I could do the same. And I'm not sure I could. Because I think many of us have a problem with gratitude. The problem is, what am I, a loser? Meaning, I feel bad to not feel good about the fact that I'm breathing. It's really, really, really amazing to be breathing. God forbid when a person can't, then they appreciate how amazing it is to be breathing. And if you take someone from a concentration camp and you put them in any one of our positions, they would be ecstatic. They wouldn't believe how lucky they are to be in whatever position you're in now, whatever the worst case scenario is now, that's the case they would love, love, love to be in. Except that we're not in the camps, thank God. So the problem is that you're trying to have gratitude, and then you feel very guilty for not having gratitude. So now you add to your problems. Like, not only am I not grateful to Hashem for the good things that I'm getting, but I actually feel guilty that it's like a chutzpah not to be grateful for it. But here's the issue with, I don't know, does anyone else have this problem? Maybe I'm the only one. But the problem with gratitude is, if I want nachas from my child, for example, if that's what I'm looking for, it doesn't help me that I'm breathing. It doesn't help me that I'm healthy. I'm excited that I'm very, very happy with it. But I want that, so you're giving me this. So how do I reconcile the two things together?
Because you first have to breathe and be alive, and then you're going to work on yourself.
Okay,
and you're gonna work
excellent.
On yourself. You need both.
I breathe. I'm going to thank Hashem for my breathing, but I can't say that thanking Hashem and being grateful for the breathing takes away the pain of what I'm feeling with my child.
It doesn't take away, but it uplifts you. Once you acknowledge,
We
and
take
say,
it for granted.
Okay.
and you say thinking
Let's-
about all the things that are obvious.
Right. So let's not take it for granted. Let's feel it and feel grateful for it. And after I'm grateful for it, now what?
Work on.
Now I'm still down
Nachal.
because my life is 99.9% of the time occupied with the other stuff. And this stuff is 0.1. So I want to be grateful, and I am grateful.
So
But it doesn't-
be more focused on the good.
Okay, so you solved the first 5 minutes of my day. Yes.
No, I think because Simcha is being proactive and doing, and Lina is passivity. You're reacting to situations. If you're thinking it's bad, it's a reaction to. You're not doing anything. You're just reacting to the matzah.
Right.
So
That's why it says, הזורים בדמעה, ברינה יקצרו. Because after all the pain,
זה עבודה קשה.
you feel רינה.
Right.
Which is a different type of simcha.
אבל אחרי העבודה. מגיעים לעניין.
עבודה וניסיונות.
But we need to make this work. So we want to walk out of here with an actual system of how, using these powers, these tools of rina, of being rejoicing for whatever's going on, we can actually get to help us with the other 99 that's really bothering us, and not to feel guilty, and to actually solve the issue. There is a verse, a pasuk, where we use this, we employ this idea of rina. And we say it every day, at least twice a day, 3 times a day. Ashrei. In Ashrei, where do we say rina? We say Zecher Rav Tuvcha Yabiu V'tzidkatcha Yeranenu. You see the word rina. So, the memory of the abundant goodness they will express, and your righteousness they will rejoice in. Why is it only zecher? Why can't you say Rav Tuvcha Yabiu V'tzidkatcha Yeranenu? Which would mean they see all the goodness that you're giving them, and they rejoice in your righteousness and your beautiful things that you give them.
because the ra consumes you 99%.
And it only becomes a zecher.
זה קשה.
Exactly. Of course, by the way, it
Yeah.
wouldn't fit into the aleph base because the ashrei is designed with aleph base,
Yeah.
and that's
The
the zayin,
concept, yeah.
so it would fit that way better. But yeah, it's obviously got some more depth to it. Exactly. It's talking about a place where you actually don't have Rav Tuvcha. We're not saying Rav Tuvcha yabiu v'tzidkatcha yiraneinu, that you have a lot of goodness and you're rejoicing for Hashem's righteousness. That happens when you have a simcha, when a lot of good things are happening to you, and you're excited and you're happy, and you're in happy mode, and you're saying, thank you Hashem, it's awesome, this is beautiful, I love this, it's unreal. And then you can rejoice in Hashem's abundance. But sometimes, renana is beramsha, is in the darkness, when things are hidden, when you're not seeing Hashem. And all you have to express Hashem's wonderful goodness is a zecher. You have a memory of it. You actually don't have the Rav Tuvcha. You're zecher Rav Tuvcha yabiu. Hashem has two modes of operating. One is revelation, where you see His hand, and that's amazing, and it's awesome, and it's great, and it's so beautiful. And then there's the other mode of operating, which is when He's hiding. And that's scary, and it's challenging, and it's difficult. When Hashem is revealed, we feel Him, we see Him. But guess what? If we take it to the extreme, if Hashem would be fully revealed, what would happen to us? We wouldn't exist. If the sun would shine in all its glory and brightness, you wouldn't exist. The reason why you're able to exist is because the sun actually is hiding. The sun does not shine. So what happens is there's a layer on top of the sun. There's a layer covering the sun, a sheath blocking the sun, and that's why you can actually experience the warmth of the sun. So what Hashem does is He's revealed. Now when we close our eyes every day, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What's that? Hashem Echad. That's Hashem revealed. That's why you close your eyes. Because if you look, you'll be burnt up. If Hashem is Echad, it means there's nothing else in the world besides Hashem. You can only see Hashem. So it's like an absolute revelation. And too much revelation, too much good, is not good. So we open our eyes and we say, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Ba'ed. Now the word Baruch, we've described before, a very powerful word. What does Baruch mean? Bless. But what is Lehavrich? What are your knees called? Berech. Birkaim. Why are they called a bracha? Why are knees blessings? Because what your knees do is they bring you down. When you're standing up, you come down with your knees. That's what a bracha means. It means to bend Hashem's presence down into this world. Hashem is aloof and above and removed, and you want to bring Him down. So, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem revealed. And then, I want to take that revelation into a world where you don't see Hashem, and I want to bring it down. Baruch, draw down the name of the glory of the kingdom of Hashem, le'olam, into the world. Va'ed, in a way that sticks. And that's where you see concealment. And when you don't see Hashem, it's scary. But you know why you don't see Hashem? Hashem loves you, that's why. He wants you to find Him. Because if He's revealed to you, it's like any parent. If you're a good parent, I was talking to one kid, he said to me, he's upset with, he called her that lady. And it took me a while to understand who that lady was, till I understood that lady is his mother. And he was really mad at that lady. You know when your kids tell you that want a different mommy? But those are good moments, because what you're doing is allowing them space. When you give your child an opportunity to thrive, to be on their own, you're doing them a great favor actually. You're letting them be, you're letting them exist, you're letting them thrive. That's good. And what Hashem does to us is He removes Himself from the picture. When God hides, it's painful. It's very, very difficult. It's hard. And we call that suffering because we don't see Hashem. And so we build this image of what we want life to be. We build an image of what perfection would look like. Oh, if it were perfect, I would feel joyous. I would feel fulfilling. I would feel meaning. And you get all those things that fill you up. And then you start crying and screaming, why don't I have them? What's really going on is Hashem is just allowing you to do a Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed, to draw Hashem's presence into that space. It's not bad, it's an opportunity for extra, more powerful good. When Yosef became king, viceroy I should say, of Egypt, so what does it say in our parasha? They called him, they named him, Vayikeru lefanav Avrech. They called him an Avrech. What's Avrech? You know, like Avrech? Right? Averach. A young man. Avrech is in Yiddish, it's a young man. Avrech Koile. Right? But do you see the similarity to the other word? Avrech? Berech? Bracha? They called him a blessing. Why is he called an Avrech? Because that was the best way to describe this individual named Yosef. What was he? He was an Avrech. He was a person who spent his entire life, entire being, realizing Hashem's presence down in the space where he was. That's what he was doing. You've seen that glorious, unbelievable moment. It's incredible. Yosef walks over to two fellows in the dungeon. He had been there for 10 years. They had just been knocked off their highest positions and thrown into a dungeon. And what does he ask them when he meets them in the morning? He says to them, Madua pneichem ra'im hayom. Why are you depressed? Why are you depressed? Because it's a beautiful bright day in the dark dungeon and I lost everything I ever had. How about you? What are you happy about, Yosef? How long have you been here? I've been here 10 years. How long are you more assigned? How long are you sentenced to more? Oh, there's no limit to my sentencing. It's always. This is not an American prison. It's an Egyptian prison. It's a dungeon. They throw away the keys. That's where he was. And yet, Yosef was an Avrech. What's Avrech? A person who's Mavrich, who draws down Hashem's presence, the Aleph, every moment. That's what he was. In every single space that he was, he says, okay, so I'm a slave right now. It's pretty bad. And yesterday I was top of the world by my father. Not good. Okay, but Hashem sent me here. So what should I do? So I'm going to succeed over here. I'm going to be the chief slave. Okay, that didn't work. Thrown into a dungeon. What now? I don't know. Now I'm going to be the chief of the dungeon. And you think he's kidding, right? But what's the point of being a chief of the dungeon? Hey, it worked because he was chief of the dungeon. That's why he was the guy who brought food to the butler and the baker. That's why he was able to tell the butler. That's how he got out. And you think that was ridiculous. You spent 12 years being the chief of a dungeon. Yeah. If someone is able to see the goodness in every single place, you can change things totally. What does it mean? It means it's a slight twist on what gratitude is. You want to be singing Hashem's righteousness and be miranen on Hashem's righteousness even when you don't see it. It's not Rav Tuvcha, it's only Zecher Rav Tuvcha. Even when you don't actually see God in a revealed way, and you only got a concealment, a memory of what he does, you want to be able to rejoice from it. Let's see how we can do that. Because if I want this, I want the nachas from my child, and you're telling me I'm breathing, it's not answering my question. Right? But let's try shift a little bit. Ask yourself a question. What's going to make you happy? What's going to make you feel the euphoria that you're looking for?
So you're going to be focused on the good.
I'm saying practically. What good? Think about it's individualistic. Every one of us has good things that we want, right? If I had this goodness, if my situation would change and this would happen, then I would feel, fill in the blank. And sit down with that feeling.
Feel what?
Feel whatever feeling you're looking for. Meaning, there's a dream that you have. The dream is, I want fulfillment. I want to feel grateful. I want to feel successful. Whatever you want to get to, whatever that awesome and unbelievable dream you want to get to is, that which is going to make you sing. Whatever's going to make you sing, sit yourself down and feel what it is that you want. That's part one. Now that you have that in your mind and you know what's going to make you sing, now you want to see how you are already doing it now. Now, look what we're talking about. This is not a gratitude sheet. It's actually a needs sheet. And there's a big difference. Because it's about what you're doing to get there. Which means, so you want to feel great, you want to feel, let's say, you just feel euphoria. What are you doing for yourself that's going to make you already feel the euphoria now? So I'm going to divide it into, there are 6 emotions which we have. Each one of your emotions needs to be catered to. And you need to be singing with each one of those emotions. So whatever's going to make you sing at the end, that's what you want to bring now. We want to take what we consider to be awesome, the ultimate that you want, get clarity on what you want and the feeling you want, and then we're going to start working to find those feelings already now. See the difference? It's not about gratitude for things which are irrelevant to me now. It's about noticing how you already are doing those things that you want to be doing. So let's divide it into the 6 emotions. What are the 6 emotions? First one will be love and caring, chesed. So I want to feel loved and cared for. Okay, what are you doing now that's giving you a zecher, a 0.001 maybe, of the feeling you want to get to? So you say, well, every day, sit with your pen and paper and a notebook and start writing down, what am I doing for love and caring? So you say, well, I went with my child, with my grandchild, and I spent some time with them, and we just hung out together, and I felt good that I made them feel good. I mean, I felt so dumb because I really want so. Okay, yeah, we got that part. Just delete that part for a moment. Right now, we want to just focus on what was good. And you want to sit down and write what was good. Next, gevura. Gevura would mean, what are you doing in work? What are you doing to work on yourself to become a better person? You say, well, most of the time I'm just depressed. Okay. But one thing you did today that made you feel that you worked? So I say, yeah, I don't know, I davened. I went and davened. Okay, it was a 20-minute davening, but I davened. I did something. I davened. Okay, write it down. That's the work you're doing. Number 3 is tiferes. Tiferes is like wholesomeness. So what are you doing to create security in your life? Well, I made a schedule. And I woke up in the morning, instead of sleeping till 10 o'clock, I woke up at 6:30, and I was up out of bed, and I went to do some exercises, and then I got it, I davened, and I created a secure life for me. Okay, next. Netzach. Novelty. What are you doing in your life that's new? Something different that makes exciting. I had a cappuccino instead of an espresso. I don't know, something you did, right? Remember, something you do that's giving you that good experience. It's small little things that you do. And what's the hoid? Importance. What did you do that made you feel important? I don't know. I sat in my chair. I made a chair for, I'm a parent. I made a chair for a parent or grandparent. I said, that's my chair. And I told all the children and grandchildren, that's where I'm sitting. And when they sit in my seat, I told them, no, you can't sit in my seat. And they said, why not? I said, because you got to give respect. And I taught them respect. So I created the situation of respect. And then there's Yesod, which is about other people. What do you do for service to others? When I spent some time with a friend, when I just called them up and had a chat with them, and it was about them, not about me. That's just an example, right? What did I just do there?
What's the Hebrew for the first two? The love and care?
Love and care means, what am I doing? Like, sometimes you have a hard life. Things are hard. So, okay, give yourself some love. Empathize with yourself. It's hard, it's tough, right? And I still did something special. I went and spent time with a child, for example. So I created a space of love, right?
What's the Hebrew word?
Chesed. The 6 emotions are chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, hoid, and yesod. I'm saying you want to work each one of them. The love and the care, the work that you're doing. People need to be doing work. You can't feel good about your life just by breathing. It's very important to note how you breathe every day. It's critical. Helps a lot. But if you want to really feel good in the big picture, you have to do things that what you consider to feel good. And if you consider doing good, doing service to others, then you need to feel, how am I doing service to others? But here's the thing. We decide that goodness is when I'm in absolute light. When I'm doing everything, experiencing things the way I'm dreaming about. And that's the part that kills us. What we want to do is be meranen in the dark. The angels, what the angels are doing is, the angels are singing to Hashem. Why do the angels sing to Hashem? Because they're not with Hashem. They're actually outside, so they're yearning to be back home. You sing when you're outside and you're distant. Each one of us is distant on a certain level. And what you want to be doing is discovering the song that's right present in your life right now. You know what's going to happen to you if you do this needs sheet every day? It's like exercising. You take up it looks pretty useless. I just picked up a little weight and I'm up and down and up and down and up and down. And then what? I'll keep on doing it for a few weeks and watch what happens. Strong muscles. We have these emotions inside of us, and the emotions need to be exercised. You know what's happening to us all the time? We're wearing them out by getting frustrated about everything else. And you can spend a lifetime, and all the time you're worried about everything else, and you never get to experience the goodness of your own self. That's the biggest issue, I think, nowadays, is that there's so much going on in the world. And there's so much else that we see that our attention is drawn all the time to externality. And there's, I want that, I want that, I want that. And that's nice, and that's good, and that's great, right? Hey, we take pictures of food and send them to people. And you don't even help. That's just what we do. And what do you think the other person sees? Oh, I want to eat that. I want to be like that. I want to have that. It's all done innocently. It's the world we live in. You can't help it. What we want to do is, when it's dark, we want to be like Yosef, Avrech. Every single thing that's happening to you, look around you and see, okay, I'm a slave to Potiphar. Ain't good. I get it. I'm in a dungeon. It's not good. But what is exciting about what's happening right now? And then you'll be like, I don't know, the dungeon is so beautiful. It isn't. It isn't beautiful. Let's not kid ourselves. But it's also not kid ourselves that there's emotions. The 6 emotions can be ignited in the dungeon too. See, Yosef had a desire to serve others. He really wanted it. Yosef had a desire to be good and kind. But he was in a dungeon. There was no one to be good and kind to. So he would, I guess, write down every day what am I doing that's good and kind? Then you would write down something, and then you would get, oh, that's amazing. I did one thing, that's really nice. It makes you feel good, and it strengthens the muscle of connection, of bitachon. It strengthens that, and you become stronger and stronger every single day by looking at the things you're doing. Not gratefulness to Hashem just randomly, but rather, I'm doing things that are amazing. And here's what happens. The more you exercise that 0.01%, it becomes 1%, 2%, 10%, like you say, right? And it grows and it grows and it grows. And it becomes something special and unique. And before you know it, within a very short span of time, you're not getting your cue for how you feel from outside, but from within. And then you could be in a very dark world, and you'll discover the biggest treasure of a dark world, which is a happy person. And people be like, what are you so happy about? You're in a dungeon for so long, for 10 years. And he's Madua Penechem Ra'im Hayom. Because it's hard work. It's very hard work. But it's critical for us to do today. We want to get to a place of being able to be meranen, to feel the greatness of how awesome this is. So what does the verse say? David HaMelech says, Bo lefanav birnana. Lefanav is inside. Bifnim. There's an external way we relate to Hashem, what we see about Hashem. But then there's the internal way, when you are in with Him and you're inside of Him. The way to get into Hashem is only with being happy. When you're sad, you're disconnected. And then you say, but I didn't make myself sad. You, Hashem, you made me sad. Why is it my fault? I didn't make you sad. I didn't. I made your life challenging. And I'm not coming to answer you why. God doesn't need to answer us why. He's God. We know the Rebbe, He does this for our good. It has to be good. I don't know why. I don't know how. Nor is it going to help me if I know how. Because now what? Now you know why it's bad. Great. I don't want to know why it's bad. I want to bring myself to a place of happiness. And the way to get there is by focusing on those zecher. What do you see that's amazing? Not in areas which don't matter to you. In areas which matter to you. In what you want to be. What do you want? And whatever you want and makes you extremely happy, see how you already have some of that now. See little tidbits of what you have that's just unbelievable now. Bo lefanav birnana. When you have renana, what happens? You get inside, into Hashem's presence. The Torah has two parts to it, the pasuk. David HaMelech says, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, bo lefanav birnana. The second part comes first. Bo lefanav birnana. First, what you do is you sing Hashem's praise. You notice, wow, I did an act of kindness today. Because you know something, to your child, they don't know what you're going through. They know, Mommy spent time with me. That's so cool. And wow, look, every day she's davening. It's amazing. So she's doing something special. And I feel security. Those little feelings are beautiful, and you just want to expand them so that you feel you want to go inside, expand from within, and there you will discover Hashem. And when you do, you get to part 2, which is Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. What's Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha? You see, simcha is when things are revealed. Now, if you are a servant of Hashem, and you're a Jew, a religious Jew, you have a lot of things that you do for Hashem. It's beautiful. You keep Shabbos, you light Shabbos candles, put on tefillin, you keep family purity, or whatever, all beautiful things that we do that are mitzvahs of Hashem. But mitzvahs can be done just by rote, just by doing them. And what Hashem is looking for is to light up the mitzvahs. That's called Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. It's to get excited about the mitzvah. Every time you do a mitzvah, what do? We make, before we do it, before you light Shabbat candles, what do? A bracha. Before you eat a piece of food, you make a bracha. What does that mean? Mindfulness. Bring him down. Notice Hashem's presence in this in this tiny little thing you're doing right now. And get into that zone. So you look and you say, unbelievable. I'm getting to put on tefillin. Like, I am putting on tefillin. So nothing I can ever do matters. But when I'm lighting the Shabbos candles, I'm doing this mitzvah, I am basking in Hashem's presence right now. Hashem and me are becoming one and uniting because the mitzvah is Hashem. The mitzvah is going to happen if you do it by rote, regardless. When you're excited about it, you enter into that zone and you feel absolute oneness with Hashem. Then you get to feel the mitzvah and you don't just do it. It's an actual space of experiencing it. And so there's two parts to a mitzvah. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. When does that happen? If bo lefanav birnana. Part one is to look at your life and say, what do I want to achieve? What's going to make me happy? Okay, let me start doing that right now. Every day I'm going to start writing down the things that are making me happy. What do I see? Little inklings, little reminders of Hashem's goodness, and I'm going to write it down, and then through Hashem's being a tzaddik in my life, Yiranenu. And the more you do that, every day a little bit of that, then you start bo lefanav birnana. The more you get there, what happens? You move towards other part, which is Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. Now you start looking around, you're seeing, wow, whenever I get to do a mitzvah, it's unreal. And then the world keeps on telling you back, yeah, but you're such a loser, because look how bad your life is. You don't even notice other people. You don't get your sense of being from other people. That's what it says, right? We say in Slichot, Merubim tzorchei amcha v'da'atam ketzara. Which literally means, right, your people's needs are great, and their minds are very limited. In other words, they don't know how to ask you for them. But in a deeper sense, what it means is, you know why merubim tzorchei amcha? You know why people need so much? Because da'atam k'tzara, because they have a very short brain. Because our brains tend to take every cue from everyone else and everything else, and that destroys us. And what we want to do is start doing the work from within. Notice the things that you consider to be amazing that are already happening. And the more you notice it, the more you'll get more of it. So the prophet Zechariah says, Roni ושמחי בת ציון. Says, I want you to be two things. Roni ושמחי. But let's see first, who's he talking to? Bat Tzion. You know what a Tzion is? Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Why is it called Tzion? Tzion is a mark. Metzuyan is outstanding. It's a mark. So why are we called Tzion and Bat Tzion? It's because every one of us, every Jew, Yeshayahu Hanavi said, Leimor leTzion amiyata. Hashem says, you want to see what I look like? You want to see what Hashem is? Hashem is expressed when you see a little Jew on planet Earth, and that is a tziyun of Hashem. Lemor letzion amiyata, the Navi says. You are, when you exist. And then when you do a mitzvah, that is Hashem. It's just a mark of Hashem. So you have to look carefully. But when you see a Jew, you'll see divine. You'll see godliness. That's what you'll see on a Jew. Even though you don't see Hashem manifest, but it's a tziyun. But sometimes we Jews get into states of desperation. And we get sad. And it's difficult. Our lives are tough. And we think Hashem hates us. And we think Hashem is, God forbid, evil. And we think that life is just strenuous. And then you don't see the Tzion. And instead of seeing Tzion, we're called Bat Tzion. What's Bat Tzion? Bat is like a daughter of. It's like there's prophets, and there's in the Tanakh, there's Bnei Nevi'im. Bnei Nevi'im are those who are not prophets, but they want to be prophets. They're looking to be prophets. Bat Tzion are Jews who are Tzion. Every Jew is a Tzion. But when you're thrashing about and frustrated and upset and angry and you're anxious and worried and stressed and sad, then you don't see the Tzion. But Hashem says, I still love you. We're still together. That's called Bat Tzion. Bat Tzion is when you don't see Hashem. When you say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that's Tzion. Now you're expressing Hashem. When you don't see Hashem, it's Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, into the He'elem, into the concealment. And I don't see God. And Hashem says, the Chaya Navi says, Roni ושמחי בת ציון. כי הנה אני בא ושכנתי בתוכך נאום השם. Hashem says, I didn't make the world for people who are perfection. Wasn't looking for that. And I'm not coming to answer your question as to why bad things happen to good people. This is not the answer for that. It's not why, it's what. What should good people do when bad things happen to them? When they don't feel like a Tzion? When they feel like a Bat Tzion? What you should do is, Roni ושמחי. You should rejoice. And you say, I don't know how to rejoice. What, you expect me to rejoice? Seriously? And Hashem's like, bear with me. Because the way to get out of this, Hashem is pretty powerful. He's pretty awesome. You want to know why the Holocaust happens, or you want to get out of the Holocaust and bring Mashiach? Which one do you prefer? Do you want to answer why bad things happen to you, or do you want to know how to find Hashem in your life and get into there? Because here's the guarantee. No matter how terrible things are, when Hashem enters into your life, the problem will be solved. It'll disappear. I don't know how. It will go away. And your part is to become an avrech, to become like Yosef, to bring the bracha of Hashem down. How do you do it? Simcha betzafra urenana beramsha. It's to start with the night, when things are in a space of night and it's difficult. And you clarify to yourself, this is the work, this is the avodah. Look for yourself and say, where do I want to be? What I want that euphoria, whatever that euphoria is, it must be personalized and customized of what you want. And then you start looking and you say, in all my emotions, my love and kindness, my work, my sense of security, my novelty, my importance, and my service to others. What am I doing now? Small, tiny little things that I'm doing. And rejoice in them and get excited as you write it down and say, that's amazing. Then you go down to all the 99% of frustration. No problem. Every day, expand the 0.1% to 0.2 to 0.5 to 1%. Make it work. And start getting excited just for those moments of how awesome and amazing that is. And as you do so, now what are you going to see? That you'll get to, Yivdu et Hashem b'simcha, you'll start seeing all over mitzvahs and things I'm doing that are unbelievable, incredible, just beautiful, beautiful things that are happening all around you. It's so, people out there live in such frustration. It's amazing. I don't like where I live. It's so stressful, it's so difficult, it's so much this traffic and whatever, all that. Like, hello. You get to do a mitzvah in this world. Every day of your life, you get to do things. It's unbelievable what you can do right now, right here. What's Chanukah? Chanukah is that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. They took away the light. No more light. So what do we have now? We have a darkness. In the dark world, what do? We light up the world. How do you light up the world? You take a Hanukkah candle and you put it where? By the outside. By the Petach Beitol Reshut HaRabim. And you go out and you make sure that the outside gets it. The goal of Hanukkah is not to light candles inside. It's to take the night, the darkness, that's the Rina, and to light it up. And when you sit and light the Hanukkah candles, what you want to do is take a look and just think for yourself, wow, it's a darkness, and if I can rejoice and get excited in what is the light right now in this moment, and then I show the outside darkness, say, yeah, it's bad, but look how awesome this point is. And what you discover is that the light of Hanukkah is able to transform all the light out there. That's what it says. You light the Hanukkah candles. Halacha is ad dekalia rigla tamudai, which means until people outside stop walking in the street, right? The Hasidic way of saying that is, you know how much you should light. It's a time frame. You should light the candles until 9 p.m. when people are still walking in the street. If no one's walking in the street, you can't light candles. But in a different way, it's ad. How much should you light the candles? Until people stop walking in the street. You are going to stop them. Your light is going to stop people who are in the street, in the darkness, from being over there. And instead, Kalia, they will reach a kilayon, a klota nefesh. They will be yearning for Hashem. because the dark world is not dark. Hashem is not away from you. He's with you. He loves you. He cares for you. He's in the exact space that you are. And when you get to a renana from that and get excited about that, it's amazing what happens. People around you start noticing, what's with this happy person? Why are they happy? And then they want more of that, and that draws, renana draws simcha. And it draws all this happiness to you. And so the Navi starts in the correct place. Roni ושמחי בת ציון, כי הנני בא ושכנתי בתוכך נאום השם. He says, daughter of Tzion. When things are tough and you're not a Tzion, you're not even a sign in Hashem, you want to be, but you're not. So look at what is good. And what are you doing that's awesome. And when you're meranen in that, and you become sameach, and you get to that, it's hard work. This ain't easy. If anyone's thinking that, well, we did it, okay, now good, now I got the things, okay, so that's, you say it's so difficult. It is very, very, very challenging. Because most of the frustration, if 99% of your life is frustrating, it's very difficult to find this. But I'll guarantee you that if you sit and do it, and you have the Roni ושמחי, even though you're a Bat Tzion and not a Tzion, then Hashem promises, Hineni ba v'shachanti betochech neum Hashem. And if Hashem dwells inside you, then the darkness outside will shine. What you'll discover is something incredible. It's not that the darkness will go away, it's that the darkness will start shining. Because suddenly you'll see all the things you thought were negative will be transformed and completely overhauled. And then you'll say, Hashem, but I thought that you were going to solve my problem through doing this. And Hashem's like, yeah, I'm a problem solver. I do it pretty good. I do things you couldn't even imagine are going to happen. And I'm going to show you the most unbelievable thing. Stay with the program. Hold tight, and you'll see these absolute miracles. That's the work of Hanukkah, the hard work of Hanukkah, to light up our lives.